What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm J-Lag.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and rounding up AHS 1984 Season 9, Episode 5, and it's called Red Dawn.
Dawn. So apparently I was reading a bunch of things, and they were saying that the title is significant of the episode because it's based on a movie. Sorry, haven't watched it. Sorry, not sorry.
I know. I feel like I should have done a little quick research on Red Dawn because I know that it was a movie. I feel like it was a war movie though. Red Dawn.
Googling
Am I wrong,
right
guys?
Now. Yeah, you're right. It was a war film directed by the screenplay.
Soviet soldiers invade a small Colorado town. Okay, yeah, I was pretty close.
But
nice.
like, what does it have to do with this? Anyways, guys, let us know in the comments because like we can't piece that together. So you guys comment. I know our listeners are like super effing smart. And S-M-A-R-T. You guys like teach us so many things. So just comment below under the video and let us know what you guys think is the connection between the movie and this episode. Yeah. And don't forget, because we're going to talk about our recap roundups like towards the end before J-Lag's little summary.
Faux show. Yes. So to get into the summary, I wanted to just cover it off generally. What were your initial thoughts beginning to end? Tell me everything.
I wasn't crazy about this episode.
Oh, okay.
I'm kind of glad that like they finally got to the morning.
Yes,
I just feel like everything has been a really, really slow burn, and I could have been here like 3 episodes ago or like even 2 episodes ago.
Sure.
I don't know. That's my opinion.
I mean, so okay, I'm kind of split because I do understand where you're coming from. I do feel like it's been a bit of a slow burn in the sense that you don't really know what's going on until this episode, and still we have a lot of questions. But I didn't mind the fact that we went this direction. Like, I don't mind the fact that we took the time to get here. I know that there's stories that we needed to hear before we got to this point, because I feel like if they jump to this moment and they jump to the reveal of the season, I guess, I would have been like, there's too many things happening. Because I feel like there's so many characters. They did a lot of backstory for a lot of the characters. So I just feel like, while I understand what you're saying, I do think that they needed to wait at least until episode 5 to get to this point. And now we can see where they're going to go with it. Like, I'm always interested this season. I've been more interested than anything else to see where they're going to go next, because everything that we've kind of predicted has already gotten here. So yes, I think to your point, like between both of us, we've already predicted a lot of what's kind of come to fruition this episode, which I guess if we're going to talk about the summary, it turns out that they are in purgatory. Yeah. And we had kind of clocked that from one of the very first episodes, second episode or so. And I'm sure a lot of other fans had too. But I was still intrigued as the whys and what's going to happen to the characters and what's the involvement. And we still don't really have those answers. So I understand your frustration. I understand why it could feel like, okay, we finally got here. Now what? Like, what are we going to do next? But I think it was still enjoyable. I mean, I was very shocked how many people, like, I had to start making like a kill count, like, because people just kept dying.
It's so true.
Left, right, and center. And I was like, how are they killing him off? How are they killing him off? I mean, that being said, I know that bringing Ray back at that point in time, I was like, okay, like pretty much everybody I feel is not going to die, and like we're never going to not see them again. So I wasn't as concerned when people died, but I was also like, okay, but like who's now a ghost? Who is now living in the real world? And so I was going to talk about that. Anyway, I'm rambling. Do you have any other thoughts that you want to talk about before
I'm
I start
excited
talking
to kind
about
of
the
just like talk about it, do the summary.
Okay.
Let's get into our roundups, then we can really like analyze what we thought.
So the main things that happened in the beginning of the episode, Nurse Rita, Donna, she gets a little bit more backstory, which you find out that her dad was also a serial killer. That was like one of the first things that we see. What did you think this, like, now that you've watched the entire episode, what did you think the significance of telling that story was?
I liked the story. I just don't get the connection to it. Like,
right.
What is she the killer? Like, what? Like, I don't know.
Like, what are they trying to say at this point?
Like, I guess she's not a killer. She was trying to understand the killers, which I understand because her dad was one. Right. But why does that make her like? Why does that make her the evil one, or like she's got the darkness in her? You know.
It's interesting because I feel like they're trying to make her more like the heroine. Like they're trying to really justify. They're really pushing her justification as to why she did what she did, and I'm like, guys, not necessary. There's enough crazy characters in AHS that I don't need like a solid reason why someone decided to go and let a serial killer out
like
into the woods,
hello, you know? Margaret's out there still, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not really sure. So I agree. I don't know what the significance of any of that was, but fine. She ends up talking to Richard Ramirez, and he's like, oh, like, I know what you did last summer. Like, whatever. Like, he knows all her secrets. And he calls her Dee Dee, which is the nickname that her dad says. And then, like, she turns around and her dad is there. So, obviously, as soon as that happened, I was like, ghosts are literally up everywhere. In this business.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. The one thing that I was kind of confused by was, like, I thought that people died at Redwood and stayed in Redwood. I didn't know it was, like, a grounds for every ghost in the world to just, like, hang out. You know what I mean? Like... Because he killed himself in, like, that's the what apartment, I mean. It's like, right?
So what's happening? Like, is it purgatory just on the lands of the camp? Or is it purgatory, like, this whole universe is purgatory?
Exactly. And, like, the fact that he just, like, floated in, I was like, is she, like, having a fever dream? Like, what's going on? Anyway, whatever. She does talk to Richard. Richard doesn't kill her. He just says, like, ooh, you bad, girl. And then he, like, dips. Like, it was so random. I guess Xavier's main story is the fact that he goes cray-cray because he just had to kill Birdie.
Which is understandable.
Understandably, he was in an oven. He just went insane. Yeah. And then he gets knocked out by Margaret. And then kind of things ensue. They go back to the cabin. Montana and Brooke have their moment this entire episode. And then Chet and Marge kind of have their own...
Marge?
Marge. I'm going to call her Marge. They're going to have their own storyline, which is basically they take Chet out on a boat. This poor guy. And I didn't know if Montana... Oh, I guess Montana was just trying to get rid of Chet.
And Brooke, right?
So she... Yeah, I think that, like, she wanted to be alone with Brooke so she could kill her. That's why she was like, Chet, you go on the boat. So... That's what happens. He goes on a boat, even though he's, like, basically dying. Like, he got fucking stabbed, like, an episode ago, this poor guy.
Yeah.
So he goes on the boat, and then that's where Margaret kills him. And I was like, girl, you crazy. Like, she's insane. What did you think? What did you think of the fact that this happened so, like, abruptly? Like, were you not shocked? Like, were you expecting it?
You know what? I think, and this is why I think I'm not enjoying this, because I think there's so much happening. And I'm like, what? Like, yeah. Everything is like, it doesn't feel shocking anymore because there are so many shocking moments. Sometimes in a slasher, it gets like that, right? Like, there's so much happening. I get it. But there's still some sort of build up, and it does make sense a little bit. But I feel like we're in this universe that we don't know what to make sense of anymore. And, like, I don't know. I'm just not, like, fazed by it. I'm just like, okay, someone else is dead. Okay. Like, that's literally what I was saying watching this episode.
You're saying, like, when something happens, you're like, okay. And, I kind of felt the same way, actually. Yeah. Like, I felt like even though these characters are drastically dying, I'm like, yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, and now what's gonna happen? And, like, so whatever. I
just feel like I shouldn't feel like that in watching AHS. You know, I should be more like, oh my god, I didn't even think that's gonna happen.
And that's the thing. Like, because we kind of expected the reveal of this episode, I wonder if there is something bigger happening.
Maybe.
Like there has to be another answer that we don't exactly have, and I feel like we're halfway through the season. Like, for them to kind of give us this reveal, while I think it's important, I don't know if this is all they're going to give us. They have to give us a little bit more. Like, there's still so much more story to tell. I just don't know what story that is. I'm very confused. Anyway, so she kills Chet, which is like R.I.P. Chet, and then Brooke, while she's in the cabin, sees Ray from the window, so she goes outside so Montana can't kill her. And then Ray sees her, but he's like obviously like all like confused. He doesn't know what's going on, which is exactly what happened to our man Jonas from Time. And so now we know for a fact like he's back alive, which I kind of theorized like last episode. I was like, I'm pretty sure. Actually, you know what? It wasn't even me. I'm not even going to take the credit. One of our commenters, when Ray died, he said something about I wish that I could like find the guy's name. It's been a couple weeks since it happened, so I'm apologizing now for not calling you out officially, but he basically said, you know, when Ray dies and his head gets chopped off before he gets to he leaves Redwood, he noticed that there was like an edit change where like at one point in time his whole like shirt was covered in blood, and then another cut his shirt was not covered in blood, and he was like he was like, first he was like, wow, what a shitty cut, like a really bad edit for continuity, but then he realized he's like, maybe that isn't the case. And then it was something that Ray had said, which was like, see you in another life, before he left Camp Redwood, that kind of sparked this idea like, oh, maybe it's gonna keep looping, like maybe he's just gonna keep coming back. So thank you for that comment, Mystery Man. I'm so sorry that I don't know your name right now. I'll find it again, and maybe I'll comment it under the video so you guys can get a shout out. But anyway, so he's back alive. Sorry, that was a full fucking tangent. He's back alive, and he sees Brooke. They have a conversation, and like it's kind of cute. Like I was into their like little relationship, and because it seems like Ray's coming back, and he's not like a douchebag. He's like starting to think about like his life while he's talking to Brooke, because he's forgotten everything, right? Like he's forgotten that he probably even pushed Chet down the down the hill and like all that kind of stuff. So he's talking, they have like a cute little moment, and then she's like, I don't want to die with my life and I'm a virgin. So she ends up like having sex with him. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, sick, we had sex, like we're just gonna hang out. And that's when she sees his head in the oven, like, and then she flips her shit. She's like, in the
fridge.
Yeah, it was in the fridge or the.
Well, because she's oven. Like, I'm thirsty, and then she goes for like a drink, and she's like, oh my god.
So they find Ray's head in the fridge, and it's like a moment. It's just like, she's like, what the fuck? You're dead. Like, what's going on?
I get it, because like we're not that gagged, but like she is.
She's gagged.
Like
she's very gagged.
Like we're like, okay, cool. Like clearly, like he's already been dead. We already know that, you know?
Right. So there's that whole situation. He's like, what the fuck? He's like, how am I still dead? Like, so she runs away. She gets back into the thing. And that's when the whole showdown with Montana versus Brooke happens. It was fun to watch them. Like, so Brooke, like I said, she's been like touched by Jesus himself. She just keeps getting away. Like, she's so lucky with how she kind of maneuvers through this camp. Like, it's a shocker that she's not dead. I still am holding out with the fact that maybe she's something special. Like, I don't know what it is, but she's something special. Anyway, so that happens. And so while that's happening, Jingles finds Margaret. He attacks her again. It doesn't even work out. Like, somehow Xavier finds it, finds him, and then starts like shooting him with arrows like Katniss Everdeen, kills Jingles. Yeah. And then she decides to be like, sickening, thanks for saving me, now I'm gonna kill you. Like, she's fucking crazy. So she kills Xavier, and then as I guess Jingles is dying, Richard is like, you have an opportunity of a lifetime to be like one of Satan's like people, so you can come back to life. And Jingles is basically like, sure. So he comes back to life, and like that's like kind of, and what does he agree
to in that moment? In that moment, he agrees to be part of like Satan's like squad. Like, what is that?
Yeah, he's basically just like born again Satan instead of born again Christian. Yeah, basically. Yeah. So he came back to life, and we don't see them until the very end of the episode. But this moment was like probably one of my favorite moments just visually. Like I said, I've been missing the sun. I need that vitamin D. And so Brooke and Montana's fight basically like carries them all the way until like after sunrise. Yeah.
Thank you.
And it cuts to a bus full of kids. And so I'm like, yes, the kids are actually coming to the camp.
Like,
and
if you've ever been a camp counselor, you know how lit these kids are to get to camp. Yeah, they're so lit to get to camp.
They're so ready to go. And so that's what happens. And so they're riding out and they're still fighting. It ends up in the very front of the camp itself. And Montana's about to kill Brooke. And then in self-defense, you know, Brooke kind of like flips the tables and starts like killing Montana. Montana dies. Yeah. Montana dies. And right at that moment, that's when the bus pulls up. So like the edit was perfect. I love the way that they kind of like put that together. Yeah. It was great.
Yeah, it was funny.
It was great to watch. So that's kind of how everything finishes in the episode. And it finishes off with Margaret being one of the only survivors along with Brooke. So Margaret sees Brooke in the police car. She stabs herself because she's a fucking psycho. And she runs outside and she was like, it was her. She went cray-cray and she killed everybody. And so we don't really know what happens to Margaret right now. She's kind of like a question mark by the end of the episode. Brooke is now in the car, like cop car. But does she leave? Like, she's able to go, right? Like, they all disappear without her.
Well, the cop car, yeah, like, I guess they do take Brooke away, right?
Yeah, they do take her away. And this is the thing. That's what I mean. Like, who is a ghost? Who is dead? Who's alive? Exactly. Like, I had to start asking myself those questions because, you know, at one point in time, even Ray comes back and, like, an ambulance lady actually interacts with him. And she was like, okay, let me like just check your like vitals. He has no heartbeat. So then they take him in an ambulance and he's like, yes, I'm leaving. And he still can't leave. Yeah. So that's when we realize like he's stuck there. And then we see kind of Xavier come back and he's like, what the hell? He's like, Montana. And then Montana's back and Montana she kills a cop. And like we now realize that there's like the three of them and they're now like, is it a ghost situation? Like, what do you think that situation is?
I mean, obviously this is someone's like purgatory. Like, so. Right.
And I guess Dee Dee's still alive too, right? Like Donna.
Yeah, she's not dead yet, right?
So she's also not dead. Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of questions still. And I was reading a recap and they were like, why are there still so many questions when we're 3 episodes away from being done? Like, it's a little.
It's true.
It's a little like, haha, guys, you guys don't know what the fuck is happening. And that's what we're going to do all season. Like, to me, it just feels a little like poor writing. And they kind of just threw it up in the air and we're like, whatever, like, we'll work.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on it.
I'm still holding out that's like something big is going to come from this. Like, I don't know what it's going to be because I really like my options and my theories are starting to dwindle.
All you're doing is waiting for the end. And like, that's so not enjoyable. Like I want to enjoy the actual ride of it. And watching this episode, I was like, okay, not shocked. Okay, cool. That guy's dead. Okay, he's not dead. Oh, Jingles is leaving. Like, so nothing is really getting me. And so I'm sort of just waiting for the end. But then like, what's the point in that? Right. Like,
I get what you're saying. I think that like, when you watch, like, but when the thing is, the way I'm trying to like defend them, I guess if you want to look at it that way, is 1984 was always set up as like a slasher movie. Whether or not this is a good slasher movie is like very questionable. But I will say that I think that there is a level of predictability with these kinds of movies, with these kinds of shows. Like, you know who the killer is from the very beginning. So you're just kind of along for the ride. I do agree with you. The ride is not as enjoyable because there's so many more questions that you want answered. So for it to come out at the very end, I do feel like it's kind of within the same vibe of this genre too, though. I feel like, you know, there are movies where like the gag is like at the very end and like you kind of get to the very end, but nothing really matters before that. So maybe they're trying to create that same feeling.
I trust that in the end they're going to do a good job because I trust them. I trust their whole team and like they do an amazing job with the series. Yeah. But I'm just not in love with the ride. That's all. That's just it.
I understand what you're saying. So I wanted to do a quick hit list. So that's the episode. Jingles and Richard drive away in a cop car. So that was kind of random. What did you think of how that kind of?
Well,
thing
I don't
ended?
think it's random. I think it probably like has a lot of like meaning behind it as to what this whole season is about. We don't know that yet.
Right.
We don't know what it's gonna be.
Right.
The fact that like Jingles, he kind of like Richard kind of converted him because Jingles was like, I'm not evil, like I didn't do all this shit, and then in the end Richard was like, come to the dark side, like come and like chill with me and like join like the devil, whatever. And he does.
Right.
What does that mean? Why were they able to leave the grounds? We don't know.
Well,
maybe like the devil's dead, like helping them out or something.
They're like giving him a hand.
But
and
they
maybe
are dead, right?
They are dead.
Yeah.
No. Jingles died, but came back to life twice. So,
okay, but he's still in the same boat as the others, technically, because they came back to life too.
But they came back. I feel like they both came back to life with like dark magic, whereas like those guys just
that's
like
what I mean.
came
like,
back to life because of like
he made a deal with the devil. That's what he did,
right?
Or whatever it is. Like okay, yeah.
And it's funny that you say that because I think that historically people were saying that Richard Ramirez didn't start his real like attacks until the summer of 1985.
Ooh.
So instead of 1984, so people were all like, why are they telling this story about him now when a lot of the reports happened in 1985? So it sounds like this is almost like a prequel to his like real life story. You know what I mean?
Cool. That's
like,
interesting. Yeah.
It's like they created this like whole fake story before they like delved into like what he actually did. Anyway, that's a little side tip. So a big question that I have is, does this now reset? Like, are all the ghosts of the camp and like the rest are they gonna like, is it this story gonna continue now with like new people, and those same ghosts that are sitting in Camp Redwood, are they gonna be like the new like Oogie Boogies of
I just want to know
camp?
that's a good question, and you know, like throw it to the audience to kind of like say what they think, but I just want to know, like, what was Margaret's whole plan with all of this? Like, was it just to set up a camp and kill everyone? Like, what was her like motive? Like, is she just gonna do it again next year? Like, she's gonna have another camp and kill more people? Or like, is there a purpose behind all of this?
It's so true that you say that, because I really do feel like I was like, okay, so if she's doing this, that's cool. But she literally hired these people so she can kill them.
Yeah.
And then there was still a bus full of kids coming. So how was she imagining this to play out?
Exactly.
So I'm very confused by that. And now I'm starting to wonder, because you said something to me just now that like sparked something, and you said this is someone's purgatory, which I kind of love, because then that means that it's one person's personal hell that everybody's living in.
Yeah.
And so maybe it is Margaret's, and maybe it's her, like you think that she's like living her best life, but realistically she's just like stuck in this like same situation, so she's like doing whatever the fuck she wants all the time. I don't know, like honestly I'm very, because I was reading a quick review, and one of the questions that came up too was, where are the other campers from the 1970s who she killed?
Exactly, that's what like if they'd be on the property too, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and they would be like, yo, like she's crazy, like run away. Like right away they would have said, like you can't, like you better leave, you know? So I don't know, there's still a lot of questions that we don't have answered. And that's the thing, like I feel like I said this last episode too, but I feel like there's the little tiny nugget that they're leaving for me at the very end of the episode to be like, okay, I'm invested still. I'm sticking around, guys. I also have a podcast that I have to run, so I need to know what's going to happen. Yeah. And I just feel like there is, like, I'm still a little bit intrigued. So I'll give them that. Outside of that, I do agree. It's been a little bit of a slow burn. We finally got to this point, and I'm glad we finally did, because now I want to know what they're going to do with the rest of the season. Are you ready to get into our recap roundups, girl?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Recap roundups.
Best moment.
Best moment.
Best moment is gonna go to, I think, seeing the sunlight, because I love the sunshine. It was getting very hard to see things in the dark. And then I'd have to say the best moment is the daytime when Brooke is like on top of Montana, like killing her, and then like the bus like rolls up. That was hilarious.
It was also very well edited, lots of fun to watch. I love a little girl fight that goes all the way lethal. So much fun to watch. because you're taking that, my best moment's gonna be Jingles and Richard, because that was also a very happy moment.
It was.
They're like, life is a highway.
Well, he took the cop car, and I was like, who's in the cop car?
Yeah.
Like, who took it?
And it was them, and they're just like laughing, and it was like very much like a Bonnie and Clyde, like Thelma and Louise moment. Yeah, for sure. It was so funny.
WTF moment. WTF moment was that moment, because I was like, what's happening? Like, why is there a bromance of like serial killers going on? Like, what's the, like, I'm actually more intrigued on like what their story is gonna be, and like what's it leading to. You know, the more and more we're talking about this, and the more like, even like when the camera panned and it was like Los Angeles 166, if you Google the number 166, there's a ton of shit that comes up about like it being like some angel number, and like it definitely has like some meaning. But also like, I wonder if we're ever gonna get this reference back to like AHS Hotel, because they're in the same universe, and I wonder if they're ever gonna make that kind of connection. I don't know.
Well, Ramirez does end up at the hotel.
Exactly.
Like he goes for like that death night or whatever.
So I don't know. It was just seeing these two characters together. I wonder where it's gonna go. So
yeah, like, or are we never gonna see these serial killers again? And now it's just gonna focus back on the camp. Yeah. But then like, what's the fun in that? It's just like drama. Like everybody's gonna go through therapy because they're dead. Them again. My WTF moment is gonna go, and it's such a random moment, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pull something, because there wasn't a lot of WTFs. I wasn't like, to your point, nothing was a huge shocker. Yeah. Nothing was a huge surprise. It was just kind of like more funny to see Xavier go cray-cray. Like, he was like, in the very beginning of the episode, he was burning a freaking car down. He was like, we need to burn the whole place down. He's like fucking losing his mind. And I was like, what the hell is going on with this guy? He needs to chill the fuck down. But, you know, he gets knocked out by Margaret right away. So yeah, it's a little bit of a weak WTF moment. Sorry, guys.
MVP. MVP, I'm gonna say Margaret, just because this bitch is crazy and she got away with everything a second time around. Like, it's pretty. Like, I love how no one was like, weren't you the girl from the first time? Like, at some point they're gonna start questioning like why she's always there when like everyone is dead.
It's true. My MVP is gonna go to Brooke, because like she is technically our final girl. Like, she is our girl with the last stand. She made it all the way to the very end. Like I said, touched by God himself. Like, I don't know what's happening with her. I don't know what her story is. I don't know if we're gonna still get a reveal from her. But like, she did it. She survived. So I'm gonna give her MVP for sure.
LVP, I'm gonna say Chet, just because I felt like they kept him around for a little bit, or like they brought him back to have some sort of like crazy moment or a big moment or like a funny moment, and like he didn't have any of that. He was kind of just like on the boat, and he was like, hey, and he's like, I'm dead. It was just okay. Like, I thought there'd be a little bit more, and there wasn't. So
yeah, I agree. And this is what I'm saying about these characters, and I feel like it's happened to a couple of people, like not even just Chet. It also happened to Trevor. We forgot about Trevor after he died, right? True. So like, there's so many characters that have like had a moment, and then like you finally feel like there's a story maybe coming from them, and then they literally just like get killed off. And I'm like, come on, guys. So yeah, I agree. This episode, he basically, like, poor guy though, I felt bad for him. I was like, he was already like weak, and he tried to survive like 7 times. He was like, poor guy he was like, I think it was like almost comical. It's like one of those characters who's like, it was almost like Scary Movie-esque, where he was like, so kill me, what are you doing? Like, as he's getting stabbed. So I think they made his death at least pretty comedic, but it was I do feel bad for him. My LVP, actually, since yours was an MVP, I want to talk about the flip side of it, is Margaret as well. Ooh. She's my LVP, because I think that, like, bitch, you crazy. You literally killed an entire camp. What was your fucking plan? Like, I don't understand. So I don't know if I'm giving her LVP, because I'm like, are you ruining my season right now? Like, what are you doing to me?
I mean, she hasn't been the least valuable. She's been probably the most, because if it wasn't for her, like, I feel like a lot of these things wouldn't be happening, or like they wouldn't have a connection. Yeah, she's behind something bigger. Fair. You know what I mean? Like, she's gonna hold a big piece of the puzzle, I think, in the season.
All right, I don't know.
But you're allowed to have your LVP, so run with that. Run with it, boy. The best line.
What was your best line?
My best line was your best line, so you can go ahead and say it.
All right, so it's when Xavier finds out that Donna was the one that kind of released Jingles, so he fully blames her, and he goes, No, it's your fault I'm a monster. It's your fault I'll never be on the cover of TV Guide. It's your fault my future is in radio. And I was like, is he coming for me? Like bro.
What are you trying to say? Like people are ugly in podcasting and audio versions?
Yeah,
nice.
Basically. No, I loved it.
Yeah, it was funny.
It's probably the funniest line of the entire episode. That is our roundup. That is our recap. What did you guys think of this episode? Make sure you guys are commenting below. Like we said, we love your guys' discussion on this because we don't really know what's going on. I love to hear people's theories and understand what's going on. So make sure you guys are letting us know. We have a contest happening right now. So make sure you guys are sending us a review. And what else do we have to do? They just have to send us a review. They just have to
comment. Like, go to iTunes, search Recap Rewind, go into the AHS little screen, and just leave us a 5-star review and say how much you like us. If you don't like us, don't leave a review. But if you do like us, you can enter into a contest to win a $50 Amazon gift card. Like, we are literally bribing you guys to leave us comments and reviews. So
exactly.
Yeah. And right now, you have a really good chance of winning. So
I want to take the time to thank our patrons of the episode, the Rewinder Squad, White, our lit rewinders, Tina Ann, Sarge, Serena, Soleil, and Kate, and our mommy rewinders, Becca, Sarah, Tamala, and Grace.
Thanks, guys. And if you would like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind. If you join, you'll get access to all things Recap Rewind, exclusive contests, content, and updates.
And also make sure you guys are checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and also find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iTunes. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, following, reviewing, even for the contest, and commenting to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.